For a movie called The Hearse, we're kind of expecting a bit more hearse in it. It's like barely in the movie. The hearse is secondary to everything. Looks really cool. An old black hearse with the big metal grill in the front and everything.
Yeah, and the driver is a little creepy too, especially if you wake up and find him in your bed.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Frightfully Forgotten Horror Movies. But before we get started, what are we drinking?
Today we're drinking the last bottle of my Citrus Smash IPA.
Damn, last one, eh? Today we're going to bring to you a request by Dave Vanderhoff, and this one is 1980's The Hearse. It was directed by George Bowers, and he was mostly a film editor, and he actually edited quite a few notable movies. On the top of our list is Money Train.
Oh yeah.
Fucking love Money Train. From Hell, Stepfather, and The Good Son.
Trish Van Devere's in this, and she is in The Changeling, the masterpiece haunting movie.
Yep.
So this isn't the only haunting movie that she's been in. Joseph Cotten is in this, and he is in a gazillion things. The guy was like, the huge filmography. He was born in like 1905. And was acting up until like the 80s here. Christopher McDonald is also in this, and he's just got one of those faces where you're like, that guy.
Yeah.
But I don't know who that guy is.
Yeah, I've never seen anything that he's in.
But I know that guy. But most people probably remember him from Happy Gilmore. And he was also in Best of the Best 3, No Turning Back.
The best of the three of them.
I think there's 4 Best of the Best movies.
Oh my god. So the movie starts off, we get introduced to Jane. She's moving to her aunt's summer house that she just inherited, talking to a psychiatrist. She mentions that with her mother passing, that she's starting to crack up a little bit. So she's got to get away from it all.
And she's moving from San Francisco, and it's all like the full house intro.
Yeah.
All those houses, and then the bridge and everything. I was just waiting for the music to kick in.
Yeah. So while she's driving to her aunt's summer house, there's a hearse that pulls up behind her, chases her a little bit. It scares the shit out of her, and she pulls into this gas station. She ends up phoning the town lawyer who has the keys to the house. Gets him up all out of bed and everything. And
he's all wearing his pajamas underneath his overcoat.
He's all disgruntled and pissed off. So he lets her into the house, like, you know what time it is? It's 11 o'clock. Most good-natured people would be in bed by now. He's a little upset because the house was kind of promised to him. After Walter leaves, she starts looking through the house, and she hears a music box that starts playing on its own. So the next day, Jane starts trying to fix the house up a little bit, and she goes up on a ladder to the bedroom window. She sees an image of her aunt looking at her, and it startles her so much she almost falls off the ladder.
She's all teetering on.
Yeah. She also goes into town to get some supplies to the local hardware store. The second she tells the people working there where she's staying, right away puts them off. They're like, oh, well, we don't deliver that far. They almost don't even want to take her fucking money.
Yeah, they don't even want to sell anything to her.
Yeah. All of this gets the attention of Paul, who's the son of the owner. Volunteers like, oh, well, you know, I can maybe come and help you out, help you fix the house up. She also meets the town sheriff, towering monster over her.
I couldn't tell, is he humongous or is she like a midget? I don't know.
Yeah, it's like two extremes. She also goes to Walter's office or whatever to talk about getting the probate papers. And then after she leaves the office, the sheriff comes in and they all start drinking and everything.
He pulls that bottle out of the filing cabinet. One evening, Jane gets a visit from the town reverend, this preacher guy, and he's kind of really creepy, eh? He's all like disheveled looking. And she has a very bizarre conversation with him.
Maybe the country's not the right place for you.
One evening, she's driving home at night again, and she gets chased by this hearse again. She gets run off the road, and stuck figure come out from behind her, and you think it's that weird hearse driver guy. It just ends up being like a fellow civilian come to help her. Well-dressed, good-looking guy, of course, and he gives her a lift home that night. They kind of hit it off right away. In the meantime, she's also been reading her aunt's diary that she found, and she finds out her aunt also fell in love with a guy. And this guy ended up being a Satanist worshipper, joins the fold with him and sells her soul to Satan as well, and they conducted these rituals in the house and everything.
Sold your soul.
Sold your soul?
She sold your fucking soul.
Sold your soul?
Sold your soul?
Her windows get smashed at night, and it's like constantly.
Yes! Enough to piss you off.
Like, fuck, that'd be expensive to fix windows on like a daily basis.
Yeah.
She hears footsteps in the house and people knocking at her front door. She goes to answer it, no one's there. So all sorts of weird things are happening to her. So she goes on this weird nighttime date with Tom.
This rowing
Yeah, they
date?
go like on this canoe at night on the lake. Like, isn't that kind of dangerous?
Yeah,
Like,
dang. It's not very romantic either.
it's all cold, and this light suddenly starts shining on them from off on the shore. And it's that hearse that's all parked there,
Yeah.
shining the headlights on her. Tom's like, oh, that's just probably, some young teenagers, that's Lover's Lane over there. That night she goes home and goes to bed and wakes up and sees the hearse outside of her house. And she goes outside, gets into this weird trance, and goes into the back of the hearse,
Yeah.
the door slams and drives off. Takes her to this funeral home, sees this coffin, and then she wakes up and you find out it's all just a dream. The lawyer comes over to finally sign off on these papers. It tells her why the townspeople have been acting so strangely around her, and that's because, like she discovered in the diary, her aunt was like a Satanist worshipper.
Don't fuck with the devil!
But she ended up dying, of course. The hearse containing her body crashed. Her body wasn't found, nor was the driver's body ever found.
Yeah.
And now people see like a phantom hearse driving the highways at night. So the house is finally hers, and she goes up to bed. And she gets into bed, and that hearse driver's in bed with her, just sitting there. Of course, she freaks out. The driver chases her throughout the whole house, and
Yeah.
she's got to fight off this hearse driver. And that's where we're going to end the plot. If you want to find out what happens to Jane and the hearse driver and the hearse in the hearse, then finish watching the hearse.
So one of the biggest reasons why you should watch this movie is it centers around this mystery. The movie is all about mystery and misdirection. Set it out from the beginning that Jane is cracking up. You're not quite sure what the reason is for the haunting. Is the house in fact haunted? Is it people in the town that's kind of screwing around?
Trying to drive her away
Yeah.
by faking this haunting.
Is it Walter? Because he kind of has a bit of a vendetta.
And the movie's played out in a way where they purposely fool you so you don't know what's really happening. Times where you're like, oh, it's totally the townspeople driving her away. But there's times too where you're like, oh, this place is fucking haunted.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll change your mind the next scene. It's the lawyer, he's doing it, The misdirection is great.
Yeah, it always keeps you guessing. Kind of keeps you on the edge of your seat, trying to solve it yourself, you know?
And the fact that all the characters are so bizarre helps that too, because
Right.
everyone's so weird
Yeah.
that they're probably up to weird things,
That's right, yeah.
Like driving someone out of a house or faking a haunting.
With Walter being in cahoots with the sheriff, too, because you kind of get that sense when they're drinking the whiskey and all
Yeah.
that. Does Walter kind of have a free pass here to do shit like that,
Yeah.
or the sheriff's just going to turn a blind eye?
And the sheriff does turn a blind eye the whole movie.
Yeah.
He's always just like brushing her off. There's that great scene where she runs into the diner after being chased by the hearse driver, and the sheriff is there.
5 minutes ago, Sheriff, somebody tried to kill me in my house. Now, are you going to come and do something about it or not?
This man trying to kill me, and she's like screaming at him, and he's like,
You city women are goddamn crazy. You know that?
At least go look. Kind of found the acting a little on the strange side, too. And I'm not sure if it was the acting itself or it could also be attributed to the fact that everybody is just weird.
Yeah, and they're
You know.
purposely acting weird but to make everything off-putting. Tons of subplots. Like
Yeah.
that subplot with Paul. He's all in love with Jane and making up, telling his friends that they're dating and having sex and all this stuff when they're not. Like, what's that? You know, I guess it's to make him a suspect too.
That's right.
You know?
Yeah.
Because the mystery aspect of it, you're never really bored with this, even though not much is happening.
Yeah.
But they reveal plot points at like the perfect times, so you're like, oh, okay, now I'm interested again. You know, she starts reading that diary and talking about her aunt. It's like, oh, okay, now I'm intrigued again. Like, as soon as you start maybe thinking, where's this going? Oh, then they hook you in again.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's right. Yeah, and it's all centered around like the what's going on in the house, the haunting, right? So
Yeah.
they keep giving you interesting little snippets of the haunting as well. Going up the stairs while she's showering
Yeah.
and watching her in the shower.
Yeah.
It's like, ew, it's unsettling.
Jane's current living situation parallels her aunt's. You know, they're both falling in love with these mysterious men. And who are these mysterious men? Like, Tom,
Yeah,
who is this guy?
yeah,
You only ever see him at night at her place, right?
that's right.
So it's like, yeah, what is he? Who is he? Is he a ghost? Is he real? You don't know, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. She's quite a strong-willed character, you know. But she's vulnerable at the same time.
Yeah.
So like, there's that dynamic in her character. Music for this movie too. It really helps underscore the atmosphere and the feeling of dread and foreboding too.
Yeah.
It's really good.
It's a perfect haunted house score.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's like just old school horror movie music. And the setting, of course, is great. It's a haunted house. What's neat about it is that the house itself is not scary. It's what happens in the house that's scary.
That's right.
And stories about the house. But the house itself is very unassuming. Just a normal house. Like most haunted houses that people say are haunted are just normal houses.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's just a story centered around everything.
Yeah.
And the ending for this movie, we gotta kind of mention that we're not going to give anything away, but it's quite a straightforward sort of ending where it doesn't really throw you any curveballs, which is kind of nice because there's not a whole lot to think about. But also on the flip side of that, it'd be nice to get a little more of a payoff and maybe a little more of an explanation as to what it is that's
Yeah.
going on.
I really enjoyed this movie for the most part, you know? But then the ending is just kind of really abrupt.
Yeah.
It just like happens out of nowhere, and then the credits start rolling. It's like, what? No, what? No! Like, give me like one more scene or something just
Yeah.
to kind of either wrap things up or have like a crazy twist right at the end to kind of. But it's very abrupt, and it's like
There's kind of no feeling of a final act in the
right.
movie.
Yeah. There's no. Yeah, you don't get that feeling where it's like you're watching the final act.
Yeah,
You know you're in for the last
Yeah, it just
stretch. you
Yeah,
know?
it just kind of veers into it. Like it just kind of moves into the end, and that.
And then the credits roll. You're like,
yeah, it's like, oh,
okay, I guess it's over.
yeah. I mean, it's still good though. Like
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
the thing. Not to take away from it, but yeah, it just needed maybe a little more.
Like they lost the reels for the last part of the movie, and they just had to
Wrap
it up or something. Yeah,
Like, oh shit, what happened to those? Oh, whatever. Just
the credits. Or,
The Hearse actually doesn't have a whole lot to do with this movie.
yeah.
Like, it does, but not. With it being called The Hearse, you'd think it'd have more.
For a movie called The Hearse, we're kind of expecting a bit more hearse in it. It's like barely in the movie, and it's not really the main.
Yeah, driver in the movie, right?
Yeah, it's like
driver.
Yeah, it's like it's the hearse is secondary to everything, but the hearse looks really cool. An old black hearse with the big metal grill in the front and everything.
Yeah, it looks a little menacing, you
Yeah.
know. And the driver is a little creepy too, especially if you wake up and find him in your fucking bed.
If you're in the mood for a good, just simple, down-to-earth haunting movie, you know, and along the same lines as like The Changeling and
Dominique.
Yeah, where you kind of question, is this really a haunting? Or is it mental illness? Or is it someone trying to scare these people out of the house?
All in all, it's actually a pretty solid haunting movie. And until next time, keep drinking.